All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump away from the Warriors locker room and let's go into 2019 because, as I mentioned before, it is going to be one of the biggest summers in NBA history. You thought this past summer was huge with LeBron James being a free agent. Next summer is going to be even bigger. So we're going to break down my top 10 free agents for 2019. So let's start with number 10, and it's the Memphis Grizzlies center, Marc Gasol. Now, I understand that Marc Gasol is entering his age 34 season. He's on a little bit of the older side in terms of a elite NBA player, but he does have that player option of $25.5 million going into next season. I expect him to pick up that player option instead of declining it and looking for a bigger deal. As you will see with a lot of centers that we have on this top 10 free agents list, not a lot of them are going to end up getting max contracts at the ages that they're currently at. Marc Gasol, 34 years old, is not going to get a deal the year after that is worth more than $25 million. I expect him to be on the Memphis Grizzlies next year. However, don't be surprised if the Memphis Grizzlies start to shop around both Marc Gasol and Mike Conley if the team starts to fall apart down the stretch. Because remember, the Grizzlies were terrible last year. They were one of the worst teams in all of basketball. And this season, while they are bringing back Gasol and Conley from injury, the only real addition that they're bringing in is 4th overall pick Jaren Jackson Jr. because, look, they lost Tyreke Evans. They don't have a fantastic scorer off the bench. They did add Kyle Anderson from the San Antonio Spurs, but he is not what you would refer to as a prolific scorer at all. So the Memphis Grizzlies are going to win. It's going to come by defense. But if you see this team start to fall apart by the trade deadline, don't be surprised if you see us report about some Marc Gasol trade rumors. All right, let's go to number 9 here on my top 10 free agents in 2019. We have DeMarcus Cousins, and if you're wondering why I have him so low, it's because we simply have no idea what DeMarcus Cousins that we're going to get in the future. Are we going to get elite first half of the season of New Orleans Pelicans DeMarcus Cousins, or are we going to get 80 to 85% coming off of an Achilles injury DeMarcus Cousins? At this time, we have no idea if DeMarcus Cousins is ever going to be the same NBA player again. If he comes back at 100% and ends up being the player he is, he's going to get a full max contract. And to be totally honest, guys, I fully expect him to come back and be 100% healthy by the end of the season. He's going to be able to wait as long as he's possibly allowed to come back for the Golden State Warriors, and I would expect him to sign a 4-year, $164 million deal with a team that is not the Golden State Warriors. DeMarcus Cousins and the Warriors is strictly a 1-year relationship. And that also has something to do with Draymond Green because it seems one source told us that Draymond Green was none too pleased about the Warriors bringing in DeMarcus Cousins. However, we do need to note that we had another source say that is not true and that Draymond Green was actually the first one to reach out to Cousins and get him to Golden State. So I project DeMarcus Cousins getting a 4-year, $164 max deal next offseason. Not sure what team it's going to come from, but watch out for the Dallas Mavericks if they decide to move on from DeAndre Jordan. And hey, speaking of DeAndre Jordan, that is our number 8 free agent on our top 10 free agents of 2019. So he's currently getting paid $22.8 million. And look, he's going into his age 30 season. So you can count the amount of centers on one hand that are over the age of 30 that are getting paid over $20 million. Marc Gasol is one of them, and then after that, there aren't a lot of them left. Al Horford's another one, and then that's just about it. Of course, DeAndre Jordan is on that list because he is getting $20 million at the age of 30. But I would expect DeMarcus Cousins to end up going back to the Dallas Mavericks. I think the marriage that the two of them have is going to end up working out beautifully from a basketball sense. My potential contract for DeAndre Jordan, 2 years, $40.5 million. He just breaks that $20 million a year range, which I think is going to be important for DeAndre Jordan going forward into his age 31 and 32 season. Look, he's a center in the NBA that can't shoot. He's going to deteriorate quickly, so he's probably going to want one more big-time NBA contract before he starts having to take some random deals as his NBA career starts to wind down, i.e. Dwight Howard, who just signed a $5 million deal with the Washington Wizards. All right, let's get to our number 7 free agent for 2019. Kemba Walker is our number 7 free agent. Fantastic point guard, one of my favorite players in all of basketball. For my money, the most underrated point guard in the entire NBA. He's only entering his age 29 season. He has gotten better every single year in the NBA. He's on one of the most affordable contracts in the association today at only $12 million a year over the past 3 seasons and going into this one. Now, we did have Kemba Walker be mixed up in some trade rumors over this past season, but we did have Mitch Kupchak, the new GM of the Charlotte Hornets, basically come out and say that he wants Kemba Walker with the team long term. And if we're advancing ahead and looking at what the max contract that could be given to Kemba Walker would be next year, 5 years, $189.6 million full max deal with the Charlotte Hornets. If you're wondering why it is in the $200 million range, well, Kemba Walker simply hasn't played long enough. He is in that 7 to 9 year range for max contracts. Once you get to that 10-plus year range, that is when you start seeing the Chris Pauls of the world getting 4 years, 160, and the LeBron Jameses of the world getting 4 years, 154. But for now, with Kemba Walker, we project a 5-year deal of about $190 million next year with the Charlotte Hornets. All right, let's go to our next free agent for 2019. How about Al Horford, one of the best defensive players in all of basketball, and maybe the third best defensive big man for my money in the NBA right now, behind both Rudy Gobert and Draymond Green. I give the money to Draymond, seeing as the dude has won a Defensive Player of the Year award. But with Al Horford, his situation is very interesting because the Boston Celtics go into next offseason with maybe the biggest question of any team outside of the Golden State Warriors with Kevin Durant. What do we do with Kyrie Irving? So Kyrie Irving needs a contract extension. He's going to be on this list in a little while. And Al Horford is a player option of $30.1 million. But if he has another season like he did this past year, maybe Al Horford decides to decline that player option to try to get even more money. Now, $30.1 million is already a hefty chunk of change for a 33-year-old Al Horford who will be going on age 34 when he does get that last year of his contract. But I don't expect him to be on any team going into next season or the year after that than the Boston Celtics. He's going to be on the Celtics. It just remains to be seen what the Celtics are going to do with their cap issue when Kyrie Irving ends up getting the massive max contract that the Celtics are sure to offer him next offseason. All right, let's get to our next free agent here. It's Jimmy Butler. So we know that Butler already turned down a 4-year, $110 million extension with the T-Wolves. And to be totally honest, he did that for a good reason. Why would Jimmy Butler accept that contract extension from the T-Wolves when next season he can accept a contract extension of upwards of $150 million with another team and still get that 4 years that the Minnesota Timberwolves have already offered him? So I expect Jimmy Butler to leave next offseason. I think his relationship with the Timberwolves is beyond repair. I know he loves Tom Thibodeau, but it's very clear that he's annoyed by the young players on the Minnesota Timberwolves, whether it's Karl-Anthony Towns or Andrew Wiggins. He has been vocal about his frustrations with the young players on this team. So as of right now, I give Jimmy Butler to the New York Knicks or the Brooklyn Nets. I think he's going to come back to the Eastern Conference, and I think a team with a max slot is going to jump all over him. Imagine Jimmy Butler with Dave Fizdale with the Knicks, along with Kevin Knox and Kristaps Porzingis, and another year of Mitchell Robinson and Frankie Smokes with a second max slot. Maybe they make a run at Kyrie Irving as well. So expect the Knicks and the Nets to make a run at Jimmy Butler, but that 4-year, $140, maybe even $150 million contract for Jimmy Butler is going to look really pretty when next offseason comes around, especially because he turned down a contract that would have given him $30 million less over the course of that contract. All right, let's get to our next free agent here. It is Klay Thompson, who has said in the past that he is willing to take a pay cut to stay in Golden State, and I'm not really surprised by that because, as we reported earlier today, Klay Thompson is very much his own dude. He is a very unique character. Kind of quiet, kind of soft-spoken, keeps to himself, has his friends, doesn't really mess with a lot of the outside world in terms of social media and Twitter and Instagram. He's not really a part of that whole world. He very much keeps to himself, and it's kind of indicative if you look at the shoe deal that he signed. He signed a shoe deal with Chinese brand Anta that will pay him $80 million over the course of the deal. So what is Klay Thompson really gunning for here? He's not really about money, but I still think the Warriors are going to offer him the full max deal. I think he's going to demand 5 years, $189.6 million, the full max contract of a player who's returning to his team with the amount of service time he has given to the NBA. But I will say this. do not be surprised if the Los Angeles Lakers target Klay Thompson the first day of free agency and offer him the full max contract of 4 years and $140 million. Now, Klay Thompson would be leaving close to $50 million on the table. However, Thompson's connection with the Lakers can't be ignored. His dad played there. The whole family has a lot of connections with there. He still works with the Lakers. So a lot of connections with the Thompson family and the Lakers. Don't be surprised if Klay gets a full max offer from the Los Angeles Lakers. All right, let's go to our next free agent here. It is Kyrie Irving. Now, we talked about him before and wondering, what is Kyrie Irving going to do? Is he going to re-sign with the Celtics? Is he going to go to the Knicks? Is he going to just take one-year deals with everyone and just turn into a mercenary? No one really knows what Kyrie Irving is going to do, or hell, what Kyrie Irving even wants to do. Because when you're talking about Kyrie Irving and based on where this whole situation is going to go, he has not been direct at all about what he wants to do. On a podcast with Bill Simmons, he did not make it clear at all that he is interested in staying with the Boston Celtics for more than a couple of years. I think he's going to stay with the Celtics this year and maybe 1 or 2 more years after that, simply because it seems that Kyrie Irving is part of the generation of NBA players who just wants to kind of jump around teams, experience different cities, and experience different NBA franchises. So in terms of Kyrie Irving, I think the Boston Celtics will be able to keep him, but it will not be for the full 5-year max contract that they were able to sign him for. I think Kyrie Irving will sign a 3-year, $105.9 million deal. I think that third year of the contract will end up being a player option. So really, it'll be a 2-year deal with a player option for Kyrie Irving. That way, when he turns 29 years old, he will have a chance for another full max contract with another team. So Kyrie Irving, I think he'll go back to the Celtics for at least a couple more years, especially if they make it back to the NBA Finals, but I do not see him being with the Boston Celtics for a very long time. All right, let's go to our next free agent here. It is Kawhi Leonard, and I've said Kawhi Leonard's name on this program more than I think I've said my girlfriend's name throughout my entire life. Kawhi Leonard has been making all of us sick in terms of his trade requests and free agency requests. At this point, it's coming down to, is he going to stay with Toronto, or is he going to jump ship and join the Lakers as we all expected him to do? Personally, I think there is no chance at all that Kawhi Leonard ends up staying with the Toronto Raptors. He's going to the Lakers. They'll offer him a 4-year, $140 million contract. He will sign that dotted line and will end up in Los Angeles as previously predicted and as he has always wanted. Now, it is a little bit late to the party, seeing as the reason that they started all of these shenanigans in the first place was because they wanted Kawhi to move to LA to up his interest in a new shoe deal with Jordan Brand, but after declining a $22 million total deal with Jordan, they're going to walk away from the table. So Kawhi Leonard is now a free agent in the shoe world, and that was why he wanted to get to Los Angeles in the first place. Let's get to our number 1 free agent of 2019. We've talked about him a ton already, and we will talk about him more as the season goes on. It is Kevin Durant, and I think he is going to be the most interesting overall player in free agency next year. What is Kevin Durant going to do? Is he going to pick up that free agent option, or is he just going to hit free agency again? Or excuse me, is he going to pick up the player option or just hit free agency again? And I think for Kevin Durant, he's going to hit the open market. I think that player option was simply, just to keep his options open, just as something fun to keep on the back burner if he actually does want to stay with the Golden State Warriors. But Kevin Durant wants to get paid. And I do think that Kevin Durant will end up leaving his team, but I don't think that he's going to sign some crazy long-term 5-year deal. In fact, I think he's going to do the exact same thing that Kyrie Irving is going to do with the Boston Celtics and agree to a 3-year, $105.9 million deal. Maybe he signs a 2-year deal with that 1-year player option. And I personally think that Kevin Durant is going to go to the Los Angeles Lakers. I am stunned that Kevin Durant is even rumored to go to the Lakers with all the commotion about him joining the Warriors in the first place. Now he's going to jump ship again and go join LeBron James. Look, I understand that this guy doesn't really care what people think, but at some point, you need to start understanding that your respect level around the NBA is just in free fall. And now, especially after this story comes out where it seems like Kevin Durant is simply just a beta and the dude does not take criticism well. And as we saw last night on Twitter with CJ McCollum, the dude just constantly doesn't deal well with criticism. He just can't do it. Anytime anyone has criticized Kevin Durant over the past 3 years, whether it's some random fan or a media member, Kevin Durant has always responded. And I understand the purpose of defending yourself, but at some point, it's just sad. And at this point, it's starting to get pretty sad, Kevin Durant, when you're calling out CJ McCollum, who welcomed you onto his podcast, who gave a pretty legitimate comment, but we'll get that in our NBA news and rumors segment in a little bit. But let me know in the comment section, who would you rather sign? Give me a D for Kevin Durant or give me an L for Kawhi Leonard.